Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn McEntee, and I'm your moderator for a program that we're doing today. It's a Youth Leadership Forum, and it's hosted by Youth for Change Canada. And we're so grateful to have Youth for Change allowing us to be here today to shine light on a variety of guest speakers who are coming from various diverse backgrounds. We're all about shining light on the youth. And before we get started, I just wanted to do a land acknowledgement, although we're meeting on a virtual platform. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous people of all the lands that we're on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we call home. So thank you for allowing us to be here, and thank you to Youth for Change Canada for allowing us to be here as well. I have a couple of messages coming in, and I'm going to have our tech person field those questions if that's okay, and then I will go ahead with moving forward with our meeting today. Youth for Change Canada is all about shining light on youth, and it's dedicated to improving the quality of life for youth by enriching them with learning activities that are sustainable and networking, team building skill sets, character building, mind, body, and balance, and communication skills. If you're not familiar with Youth for Change, if you're listening and tuning in, please do a shout out to us on social media, follow us on our YouTube channel, and if you have any suggestions for programming, we're always interested in future ideas, but also guest speakers as well too, like we have today. So I'm going to do a shine light on our guest speakers and why we're doing the forum today. All right. Our Youth Leadership Forum will bring together a variety of youth representing diverse fields of interest to dive into community leadership, representation, and our daily lives. As part of the youth development process and leadership, Youth for Change bridges professional role models and professional community partners. And that's why we have our guest speakers here today. You are experts, and we're shining light on you. That's all about youth and the future of tomorrow. Okay. So let's get started on our itinerary. We don't have our first guest here yet. She may be joining us shortly. We're just working on that on the side. So I'm going to introduce Ali, who was second on our list. We have Ali Hand, who is an actor and an advocate, access and inclusion consultant. Ali is a Toronto-based artist and disability advocate, studied American Sign Language, deaf culture at George Brown College, leadership and accessibility and inclusion at Toronto Metropolitan University, and musical theater at Randolph College. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Thank you for being here today. Had the beauty of spending time with Ali before, so thank you a lot for sharing your expertise. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. Then next on the list was Michael. We have Michael Hanley, who is from the University of Waterloo. He studies nanotechnology engineering, his third year, and optomechanical engineering intern at Vina Medical.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Michael. Pleasure. Thank you as well. Next on the list, we have Dana. Dana Vidot, who's representing fashion and arts. She's a young artist. Dana is 14 years old. She's a grade 9 student at Cardinal Carter Academy for the Arts, majoring in drama. She's an actor, singer, songwriter, musician, and model. She was on an episode 2 of Star Trek Strange Things and Strange New Worlds as an alien daughter, Deleb, in which you can watch on CTV, Sci-Fi, and Crave. Hi, Dana.
Hello, Lynn. Thank you for having me.
Thank you as well. And I've had the pleasure of seeing Dana perform in the past, and just again, a pleasure to have her here today to join us to share her expertise as a young person. Alrighty, going down our list here, we have Jonathan Zhao. And there's Jonathan there. And Jonathan is from the University of Waterloo. He studies mechatronics engineering in his first year, finishing his first year. Jonathan is the co-founder of Western Mechatronics Robotics Club and a leader organizer of Mecha Mayhem, Canada's biggest VEX robotics tournament.
Hi there. Thank you for having me. Very excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jonathan, as well. So a pleasure. Do we have Prachi? There's Prachi. There she is. Thank you, Prachi. So Prachi is representing the health field. She works in HIV testing. She's an HIV testing program coordinator at the AIDS Committee of Durham Region and a mental health advocate. We've had the pleasure of speaking with Prachi before, and thank you also for being here today.
Thank you very much, Lynn. It's nice to see you, and thanks everyone for being here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'm just going through the panel. I don't see our other guest speaker at the moment. So I'm going to carry on if that's okay. Please and thank you with some of our things that we wanted to cover today. I appreciate that. Alrighty. So since we started with you, Ali, and again, shout out to Youth for Change Canada. Please follow us on social media. And we're very, very grateful for allowing this platform to happen today. We're talking about youth leadership, shining light on youth leadership, and how important it is to recognize youth in our community. Ali, we're recognizing you at this moment, and we wanted to ask you the first question. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us about yourself, what your field of representation is, and then we can go from there.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Ali. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an artist based in Toronto. And like Lynn said, I studied musical theater. That was always my passion, was the arts and acting. And then when the pandemic kind of hit and everything was shut down, I went back to school for sign language and kind of tried to start like embracing my disabled identity more than I had in the past. I was always kind of trying to hide it, which is not very fun. And so I studied sign language and then continued on after I kind of faced, I faced a lot of discrimination as an actor being disabled, and then a lot of discrimination in that program as well, which kind of launched me more into a field of advocacy when I studied at Toronto Met. And now I am doing consulting work and still doing my acting stuff. So I'm the director of accessibility at the Disability Collective. We do a lot of producing. We just produced a drag and burlesque show. We're doing a cabaret in a few months. We're doing like a book launch next week. I'm trying to think what else. And then we have that kind of facet of us. And then the other is the consulting side of getting into arts organizations, theaters, really anything arts related. We did an art gallery consultation a few months ago and trying to improve inclusivity and accessibility for everyone. So that's my two parts.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I wondered if we can, then we'll come back to the challenges in your role after we introduce the other guests. Thanks for the great introduction. Really appreciate that. Okay, so moving on to our next person on our list. Pardon me. Just want to make sure I've got it all. So we had Michael who went next. And Michael, the same thing. If you please could introduce yourself and tell us about your field of representation.
Yeah, for sure. So I represent engineering. So again, I'm a third year nanotech engineering student at Waterloo. So basically I deal with really small stuff, but I also have other fields of interest for engineering through my other co-ops that I've done. I've done 4 so far. 3 of them being in the medical field or medical tech. My first one working with brain surgery devices, and my current one that I'm doing at Vita Medical as an optomechanical engineer. I'm working with a new type of catheter to remove blood clots from the brains of stroke victims, and also helping design a new type of microangioscope with the world's smallest camera. So now we can get lifetime footage of your veins and arteries. So yeah, I do a lot of the medical stuff too, but I also do sustainability as well, because I'm one of the mechanical leads on the solar car team at the university. So we're building a whole solar car from scratch, which is pretty fun. So I've been designing that for about a year now with some other guys, and I'm going to start manufacturing it pretty soon. So yeah, that's a bit about me and my endeavors. So yeah.
Wow. So as you can hear from our few guests that have introduced themselves already, we have amazing representation here today. Thank you both for introducing yourself at this point. Wow, blown away with the talents we have here today. Alrighty. The next person we had on the list was Dana. So Dana, the same thing. If you could introduce yourself and tell us about your field of representation.
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Dana Beto. I'm a young artist, performer, actress, and model. I'm in the drama program in my school, Cardinal Carter, and I'm in grade 9. The latest performance I did was in my school was a play called Grimm's Tales, where it's basically old-fashioned fairy tales, and that was very fun. And I get to work a lot on stage and with other people, and it's a great time.
Wow. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you for being here today. Alrighty. And then we have, let's see, Jonathan on our list. Jonathan, if you could do the same, please and thank you. Introducing yourself, your field of representation, a little bit more about what I had to introduce.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is John. I am from Calgary, Alberta, and I'm currently studying my first year of mechatronics engineering. So I guess my field would also be engineering. My resume is not as stacked as Michael's, but I hope to get there one day. Yeah, no, mechatronics is it's related to robotics. So I do a lot of robotics applications. Like the introduction at the beginning, I started a robotics club back in high school. And it was basically just to teach kids that didn't have opportunities in school about robotics and get them involved in competitions. So we do all sorts of things like host summer camps. We run like club teams, and then we also do tournaments as well, like Mecha Mayhem. So yeah, no, it's a lot of robotics things. But I'll be super happy to talk more about it later on.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to carry on. Thank you very much. All right, and Prachi, same thing, please and thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Prachi and I use pronoun she and her. Today I'm representing the field of social services and healthcare. I work at AIDS Committee of Durham region in the capacity of HIV testing program coordinator. So we've heard of COVID self-test kits and pregnancy test kits and all of that, but we have HIV self-test kits too. Like you can have the HIV self-test kit test for yourself at the comfort of your home, and it's always better to know your status. So my role is fairly new, and I get the opportunity to build this program from ground up. We got the funding for this position for the first time at our organization just in Feb. So it's been about 2 months, or a little more than that, that I'm in this capacity. And so we do a lot of outreach, and we want to reach a lot of priority population, that is Indigenous populations, Black African Caribbean populations, youth at risk, women at risk, gay, bisexual men who have sex with men, etc. Our aim is to reduce the HIV and sexual stigma that is still very much prevalent in our society, so we can talk more about our health and our healthcare system. And along with that, I am fortunate to be working with Voksha Canada Foundation for Youth Connections Cafe, where again, we bring sessions for youth to connect and have fun.
Nice. Thank you so much. So as you can see, we have a variety of guest speakers here today coming from diverse backgrounds with a diverse experience. We're learning and growing with them today and so appreciative of the opportunity to be here with you. Thank you for taking time in your day to educate us along the way. We have some guest attendees here as well who will be raising their hands to ask questions. So we're moving forward. We may have one other guest speaker join us that was scheduled to be here today. And we'll just jockey back for position to ask her some of the same things we asked our guest speakers here thus far. Again, my name is Lynn McEntee. We're here for Youth for Change Canada. We're here for the Youth Leadership Forum 2023. And thank you so much to all of our guest speakers and attendees for being here today. I'd like to double back then on what are some of the challenges you face in your role. And if we could have anybody who wants to ask questions at that point, they could raise their hands and then we'll move forward with some of the other questions as well. So we have diverse backgrounds representation today, and I wondered if we could go back to the first introduction, please, and thank you for Ali. And what are some of the challenges you face in your role?
For sure. I will focus more on my consulting work, I suppose, and leave the acting to Dana. It's a really difficult field because people are so scared of accessibility and just think that it's really unattainable and expensive. I'm doing consulting work for the Toronto Fringe Festival right now, where they're access coordinators, which is really fun. And we have tons of great artists that we meet with and try to figure out how to make their shows more accessible. But we had a meeting the other day of someone just kind of being like, this is horrible. Like, I just don't know what to do for you people. And I was like, oh, it's okay. You're fine. It's not horrible. Like any little steps that we can take is like super appreciated. And that's kind of how I try to go into my interactions. And I think what makes me like a strong leader is that I don't I mean, I don't super consider myself a leader because I'm such a collaborator that I'm like, we're in this together. We're working on this together. It's not scary. It's not overwhelming. And it can be very straightforward. As simple as just asking folks what they need and what can help them is like so much more than lots of people do right now. So yeah, that's kind of the biggest struggle that we face is the financial barrier to accessibility. It can always be very expensive. And then that kind of limiting belief that lots of folks have that it's just not something they can do and that it's something that's super hard, that just really makes them not even want to start the conversation at all, which is something that I like actively try to go against and actively try to kind of approach situations in my work as like patiently and kindly as possible, because I mean, with like cancel culture these days and all these things, I'm like, it's okay if you slip up with your language. It's okay if you are not 100% sure. That's why we're here. That's why we're having the conversations. I'm not going to get mad at you. It's fine. So that's kind of, yeah, people are just scared and find it overwhelming. So they're kind of just not even interested in trying. That's the biggest barrier that we face, I think.
Thank you, Ali. So underscoring that just give it a try. You don't have to know everything. And it's okay to not know. And, you know, that's certainly why you're there for your work. And it's educating the public. And it can be a daunting task for some, as you had said, when they're trying to reframe their accessibility programming, I guess, if you will. I wondered if perhaps we have any questions at this point from some of our guest speakers for you and or guest attendees, if anybody wishes to raise their hand and jump into some of the challenges that you referenced in your work. No one at this point. I'm just checking. Okay. Okay, and I know that I've had the beauty of speaking with you before, and something that really stuck with me, Ali, was that it's okay not to know, right? And I think that if we just start there, and then, you know, we can unravel things from there. I'm sure there's going to be questions as they come up as we go along here, but we'll double back to you for sure. Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, and I believe the next person we introduced was Michael. So Michael, same thing. What are some of the challenges you face in your work that you're doing currently, perhaps in the past even, and moving forward that you expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is like self-doubt 100%, because like we're on the cutting edge of like innovation for a lot of engineering. So like specifically with my job now, at Vena Medical, we're designing stuff that's never been done before. So a lot of the times it's like, oh, I'm going to search up online to figure out how to do this, but there is no like actual textbook to do this type of stuff. So a lot of the times, like, I'm doubting myself if I'm able to do it or if I'm qualified to do it as well. Because I remember recently I was trying to use the new device to innovate for a new way to repair a brain aneurysm by actually inducing hypothermia in the brain using our device, and basically like physically trying to recreate the brain or like a brain model. Not too realistic because it's not in the body and all that stuff. But I was like, my boss was like, you need to do your best to recreate the scenarios and the anatomy of the blood vessels in the brain, insert and try and perform the surgery like a surgeon would, and then record all the results and all that stuff, and then write a technical report for some neurosurgeons and all that. I'm like, can I really do this? So I was like, a lot of the times I'm like just in my own head sometimes, and I'm like, can I really do this? But at the end of the day, it's like, just keep trying and trying over and over again, talking to people, trying to just settle myself and just work how I work is one of the things. It's just getting out of my own head is one of the biggest things, because trying to think about new things a lot can be tiring or can be stressful a lot. So it's just getting accustomed to that, I'd say. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you very much for sharing that. Appreciate that very much. And again, it's having faith in ourselves. And that's what we're talking about today, is for any other youth that will be listening in the future or tuning in, and that we all kind of have those self-doubts, and it's working through those self-doubts and finding strategies to do that. And if we're trying to enable other people in our community to help us along the way in terms of accessibility, it's again underscoring and educating in a very kind way and suggestive way, seeing if we can reframe it for people if maybe they never had that experience before, referring back to what Ali had said. Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate that. I don't see any hands at this point. I'm just going to check here for I have someone sending me a file. I'm not able to look at the file right now, but I'm going to carry on with our being present with our guest speakers. The next person is Dana. Dana, same thing, please and thank you. If you could, talk about the challenges you may face in the work that you're doing and the different places it takes you.
Yes, of course.
Thank
So I find with a lot of young artists like me, since we balance so many things, like let's say they play an instrument, they have to take lessons for that. Like we have so many activities from the variety of things that we do as performers. So balancing that along with your studies also can be very hard because certain classes, let's say like English, requires you to read lots of pages. So it might be hard and difficult to balance writing and copying those answers down and along with trying to practice your instruments at the same time. So that's a difficult for me, like time management a lot of times. And then also when I'm learning new songs, especially when it's a song in a different language, like last year I learned for the summer a lot of Filipino Tagalog songs. And my mom is Filipino and my father is Canadian. So I do not speak Tagalog. I only speak a little bit. So I had to learn a bunch of songs for a Filipino festival in the summer. And along with learning those different language songs, I also play instruments while I sing. So that can be hard with coordination and it takes a bit longer to learn those. But overall, it's really fun trying to new things and balancing everything.
Thank you for that. I remember speaking with your mom last summer just regarding that. And you speak singing in Tagalog and Kumusta ka. So yeah, I know it's interesting singing in another language and the challenges. And you mentioned studies and how hard that is. Have you ever done audio reading, like audio books for your material, or things that you have to read for your English classes?
Audio does seem easier, but all of our work comes online in Google Classroom and they're just documents. So I have to read through it all and then answer following questions.
So getting back to your time management then.
Yeah.
Nice. So there's hope out there for anyone that's listening or viewing, that they're, work on the time management for as a leader moving forward in your field. Definitely works for sure. Comes in handy. The next person is Jonathan. If you could do the same, please and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of challenges that come with just leading a robotics club in general. One of the things is getting a bunch of middle school kids to clean up after themselves. It's definitely a lot of work. But I think one of the more like pressing issues, I guess not really related to robotics, but almost engineering in general, is just like gender diversity. I think a lot of people have stereotypes when they think about robotics as like, just nerdy guys working away in their basement with like, or their garage with like power tools. But it really isn't that. And I think just like sort of demystifying what robotics is about. It's really for everyone. And, getting the stereotypes out of the way, because robotics is more than that. So you make a lot of friends in robotics, meet lots of great people, and you learn a lot of like applicable skills and lessons in robotics. So I think just like demystifying that is one of the bigger issues.
No, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. I remember watching a documentary recently just on that. It was them navigating clubs, robotic clubs, and it was mostly males in the room. There was a couple of, 3 or 4 females out of a group of 50 maybe at the time in the room. So thank you for underscoring that. Much appreciated. Thank you, Jonathan. And shout out to Calgary for anybody who's from Calgary listening or tuning in, because Jonathan's from Calgary, but studying at U of W, University of Waterloo. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. And Prachi, you are next.
Yeah, so I'm originally from India, and it's Canada's been home since about 1 year and 3 months now. So I am still getting into learning about the social structures here, the healthcare system here. So one of the challenges that I particularly face right now is still navigating through and learning about the several existing resources and brainstorming about how we can build on these existing resources such that we can make healthcare system more barrier free, so to say, for individuals. So if they have a concern and they want to reach to a service provider, it's not just going from point A to point B. There are a number of curves and navigations that they have to go through. So, how can I make more stronger ties across this field so that the navigation becomes easier? Is one of the things that I constantly think about. Secondly, all of what we do is funded. So, money is a major problem. We have so many ideas, a lot of tasks that we want to accomplish, but money as a resource is something that we constantly have to look for. And this I would speak with regards to everyone in my organization, everyone in my team. Um, and yeah, I think these are some of the major challenges in my field that I face.
Thank you very much, Prachi. Appreciate that. One of our other guest speakers is not here, so I'm just going to again just go around who's attending today. If anybody wanted to ask any questions thus far from any of our guest speakers. No, you're still okay. Feel free if you'd like. We're certainly open to that as well, and we may collect some of those questions for the end as well. Give you that opportunity. Thank you. That's amazing. Alrighty, so we're here for Youth for Change Canada. Follow us on social media. And again, if you have any ideas for programming, we're always open to that, or a suggestion for a guest speaker, we'd be more than willing to consider that for the future. My name is Lynn McEntee. I'm a moderator today, and a humble moderator who is here for the journey of learning and growing from our guest speakers, and so appreciative of you all being here today, and for those that have taken the time to attend as well. Appreciate that. We're talking about leadership, and I find oftentimes coming from the education field as well and mental health and such, I think underscoring that youth is not always recognized for being a leader or being advocates in leadership. And I'd like to talk about that today from all of our guest panelists, and how do you define leadership as individuals, but even as an organization as well. I'm going to go back to Ali, please, and thank you. And Ali, if you could address that for us. Thank you.
Sure. Like I said before, it's kind of ironic because I don't super consider myself to be a great leader, especially being for most of my life an artist focused more on that. You're kind of just told in the arts, like, do whatever you can to like keep people on your team and to connect with the leaders in the industry and just to like make them happy. And then so taking on more of a role as a consultant and having to come into those rooms as a leader is like a very interesting energy shift, especially with people that I've worked for in the past. And it's taken me a long time to learn how to do it. And I feel like this is the first kind of few months that I felt more confident in that. Because it's very tough. But as I said before, I try to just come into situations knowing that I'm like a small young woman and it is hard to like get a room on your side in that kind of situation. So I just come into spaces with like a lot of patience and try to stay like calm and cool and collected, but also just try to be collaborative and try to really meet people where they're coming from and make them feel like you're on their team. And like, I feel like that's how I've been most successful, getting someone to actually like learn from you and to be led by you, is just really listening and being open and empathetic. And I don't know, I think potentially I come at things that way because I've had a lot of like pretty poor leaders in my life who have like very aggressive personalities or are leaders because they just love being in charge and they love telling people what to do. And that's so not me. So I just kind of really try to approach situations in the exact opposite way. Yeah. It's a very messy answer, but
No, I love that. And that's so real. That's the thing. So it's very individual, isn't it? Right. It's lived experiences, and leadership is a lifestyle, right? It's learning how to lead and be led as well, right? The ability to let yourself surrender to the moment of learning from somebody else. So I love how you phrase that. I think it's a natural, very natural thing. And I also honor you for the fact that you're sharing that. And you said that you're discovering your leadership abilities now. And I just find that so cool because it comes at different times. We can go through our whole lives, and sometimes people don't grasp that what it takes to lead. And the fact that you're doing that now as a young person, and you're figuring that out from some of the trials and tribulations from previous, that speaks volumes to you as a young person and your character and the lifestyle that you're taking on by embracing that you are. You want to be seen and want to be heard, and that you are a leader. So, yeah.
thank you. That's so kind.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Alrighty, we'll go to, was it Michael? Michael, you are next.
Yeah, so definitely, at least my definition, if you do like the very basic, like put like the foundation of leadership, is to be able to bring together a group of people to work towards a collective goal. And there's many ways in which we can do that, in a sense where you can be, or for an example would be like, you can be the person that just tells people what to do, or you can be that type of leader that gets your hands dirty with your team. And I feel like a lot of people respond a lot better to when their lead actually wants to do work with them, because nobody wants to just get told what to do. They want to feel like welcome within the environment, not like there isn't this like huge like power trip, in a sense where the leader is way above the regular member. It's very much trying to bring yourself down to that level as well. Make sure to remove that barrier, and then being personable, doing your best to ensure that they're heard, taking in their considerations as well. I think that's what leads towards like good leadership per se. So yeah.
And being on the same level, Michael, for sure. And it's learning how to do that as well too, because sometimes some people don't ever realize that, and appreciate that, getting outside yourself as well, right? Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Alrighty. And next on the list, who did we have? Was it Dana? Yes, Dana, you are next. What makes a good leader?
Okay, thank you. So I think it's being responsible and taking initiative, because with performing and acting, we do a lot of teamwork and group work and lots of ensemble stuff. So that requires for everyone to do their part and stay strong. So the latest thing I did that needed lots of teamwork was at the Peyton and Kaylee concert. I was a dancer there, and we did lots of dances. I think I was in 3, but they were full out, like big energy dances. And they took about a month for us to learn. So everyone knowing their part in the dance, so we could all stay together. All of them show leadership and taking the time to know their part. And let's say if someone missed a day, we would all help that person to get to know the choreography, so the choreographer doesn't have to reteach it to everyone.
So that's the ensemble work is very, very challenging. And I think we all kind of deal with ensemble work in our lives, right? It's learning how to be with others and work with others, and especially in acting, the acting field as well. And dancing and performing, you have to be in the moment. It's ever changing, and you have to respond to change should it happen on performance night, right? So how did you find that over the course of the month, the confidence level, did that increase? Like within a week, you noticed it over the course of the whole month, or, wow, some people went in more confidently than others?
It was very fun for everything. I feel like my confidence over time got greater because of the amount of effort that I saw everyone was putting in to make the show work. And everyone was starting to get really in sync after a week. And you could tell that people were practicing at home and doing the steps and they just all know it by heart. So over the course of time, like in the last week, I think, is when we all started to really bond together as well as not just work with each other.
Yeah.
Because when you do rehearsals for a long time with people over a course of a month, you get to really know them. So my confidence really increased just being around them.
That's cool. And I love how you recognized everybody as being leaders, because that is the case. We're all leaders in our society, right? And honoring people when they don't know that themselves, right? Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Jonathan, what makes a good leader, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think I'll have to echo what the rest of my fellow panelists have said. I think a good leader is one that leads by example, getting your hands dirty, like Michael said. It's always easy to like follow the person that's the loudest in the room or the biggest guy in the room, but I think the best kind of leaders are the ones that are, working with the team, and not sitting on top, but like actually serving everyone and being a part of the team, and encouraging that. Because what I find usually is when you have a leader that is proactive and is leading by example, you tend to just inspire the rest of the team to do the same thing without even asking. And so I think, to me, that's what makes a good leader.
Leading by example?
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. It's the collective. That seems to be the pattern here, pattern of conversation, the collective, and recognizing that there is a collective. There's no I in team, right? It's removing the I from team and surrendering to the moment, That's cool. Thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate that. And Prachi, coming from the health sector, how do you see leadership in health sector? Yes, but also other parts of community.
I agree with whatever all the leaders here have already mentioned about leadership. To add to that, I think leadership is also about sharing the stage, like literally sharing the stage. You've gotten the platform, and how do you use this platform to make that a space not just for yourself, but for everyone around you too. I think learn while you lead is also very important. There's every day is a learning in some or the other way, and if you want to lead, you have to sort of be updated with what is going on. And I think opportunity is very polite. It silently knocks on your door, and if you want to lead, you need to listen to it and answer that door. So you don't know what's coming. So a part of leadership is also sort of intuition and that professional confidence in yourself that you will be able to do it.
I like that opportunity to knocking at the door and use your intuition to receive that knock at the door. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you very much, Prachi. I appreciate that. I'm going to take a moment to pause just so we can go around and see if there's anybody who has any questions right now to insert into the conversation, because your conversation is important as well. We want to make sure that you're being heard. We have Ifte who's asking a question. So welcome, Ifte. We have had opportunity.
Hi.
Yeah. Thank you, Ifte. Welcome. And if you have a moment, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, my camera is not working. So I have a quick question on all of the participants, and so if they have faced any moment or anything they can remember that exactly, I mean, they want to share, that the leaders are not very helpful towards deliberating that, okay, you have to do what you have to do, like their tasks, and they're not clear about what they have to do, and especially they don't motivate, and in terms of failure they just pass the blame on to the team members. So if there is any incidents or any experience that you guys face on your daily activities or your job, and how did you tackle that?
Ali?
Yeah, like I said before, I feel like I've had a lot of not great leaders, unfortunately. And I think specifically with acting and theater where I come from, it's very unfortunate that it's always been a very like privileged industry, and it's always been very, you have to be this exact type. So a lot of the people that grew up in that are now the leaders. And so those people have the choice to either take that oppression and all of those terrible kind of things that were taught to them as young artists and kind of continue to perpetuate that, or choose to try to change that, which I think can be super hard. And I've seen it in a lot of the like older folks in this industry that are still the leaders, not being able to really shake those mindsets and not setting a better example for us young artists, and just like perpetuating these terrible things that so many like dancers specifically are told, but just actors in general. And it's just blatant to see those folks, and then the people who you've given the space to learn and grow and change, who are now so much more progressive and so much more beneficial to like actually diversifying our industry and making it inclusive and making it just less harmful for everyone involved, like for our mental health. Yeah, so there's definitely some people that I'm like, can you just retire already? Like, if you're not going to grow, if you're not going to learn, like, please just leave. Yeah, I mean, I have lots of examples of that, but as a general idea, that's very present.
And for sure, Ali, I think that's very valid what you're saying, of course, right? Because it's diversity and inclusion is so it should be at the forefront of everything and the framework of everything, and that's the launch pad for and anything that we do. I think that should be a natural thing, but working through systems sometimes, can be quite challenging, and especially in the field that you're in as well. Then, do you mind just taking a moment to speak to how you have overcome a challenge as of recent? It's one of our questions. We'll probably elaborate on more, but if there's something more immediate that you can think of.
Yeah, I mean, with that stuff in general, as an artist, when you encounter those people that aren't willing to grow and change, and I've encountered a lot of those people where as I like grow in my own confidence and my own unwillingness to accept that kind of attitude or behavior, to address it with those individuals, which is really hard, and I'm not great at it. It's so telling, the response that you get. And when you get the response of just like, that's the way it is and that's the way I am, it's just like knowing when to just move on from that. And you gave that person the opportunity to learn and to grow and to try to be better. And if they're absolutely unwilling to do that, then as an artist, it's hard to turn down opportunities, and it's hard to kind of like feel like you're burning those bridges, because especially in Canada, those opportunities are so few. But you don't want to work with that person. Like, it's not worth it to potentially compromise your mental health. And it's just seeking out leaders in the industry that are like-minded and that you will actually like productively be able to collaborate with and learn from and grow with. And they are out there, and yeah.
Thank you. And we'll go around for Ifte, answering Ifte's question. Who would like to go next? Michael?
Yep. Yeah, I've definitely faced that a lot in the engineering fields, because a lot of the times communication is a very important thing when doing a certain task. So I have an example where I had to design a very important part for a manufacturing, for a testing rig. And I was talking to my one of my bosses, and they gave me a list of things that they verbally said what they wanted. I designed it the way that they said I should, but then as soon as I presented it, they were like, this is nothing that I was looking for. And it didn't feel good at all. But I was like, I followed exactly what you said. But he's like, oh, you needed to do this and that. And there was stuff that wasn't there. There were constraints that he wanted that he just didn't mention. And then it kind of messed up the whole thing. So I think in that sense, it's like, for me, like how I overcome it is kind of like, I just kind of just take it on the chin. Cause like it's like one of those things where it's like, if somebody tries to like make fun of me and say like I have pink hair because I have pink hair, and they just kept saying that, like I don't have pink hair, so I wouldn't be bothered by it. And I can kind of take that into like the field as well. It's like, I know that I can do good work. I know that I'm capable of doing it. So I'm not going to feel bad about it, about what they're saying, because I know I'm good enough to do it. So I just take it on the chin, take exactly the points that they've asked. And I'm like, all right, I'll make it even better than what you asked for this time. So yeah, just trying to a bit like just take it on the chin. It doesn't matter. I know I'm good enough to do it. Just only selectively listen to the parts that are constructive that I need to do, and then just work on that. So
Great skill to have. Very good skill. Selective listening when appropriate, right? Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate that. Dana.
So I feel like this doesn't happen very often because most of my teachers for instruments like drums, guitar, piano, they're all very good as well, just in general with like theater teachers and such. But at my school, our projects and assignments, they're very open because sometimes they're just like, make a scenario based on this one word. So it's very open and everyone's interpretation could be biased when we all form a group and start collaborating on what the scene might become to. But sometimes, since the instructions are so vague, sometimes we can get a completely different idea of what the teacher was looking for. So one time, a day before presentation for this one assignment, we showed other groups what ours was, and they're like, they showed us ours, and ours was the only one that was like odd one out because they were all doing it in a specific way, and ours was different. So it really shows how instructions could vary. So we had to change it last minute. But I feel like that's only a minor thing, and it was okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. And so the original question was from Ifte, and we have a few more people to pipe in on their thoughts on that. And Jonathan, I wondered if you could comment on Ifte's question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would definitely second what Michael said. These situations are like unavoidable. You're going to have to face them eventually. And I think just making the most out of every situation, taking in what is constructive, but also realizing that, like, you know, these people are also human. They make mistakes, and it's understandable. Like, I don't think I'm perfect myself. So just being able to forgive and be understanding is also a very good trait. But yeah, I mean, it happens. It's life. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And those are skills that we need to build as well, right? Working through adversity, those kind of challenges, right? Yeah. If everything was rosy all the time and perfect, then we don't learn conflict resolution, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you. And we have Prachi.
Yeah, thank you, FT, for your question. There are a number of instances like that where the leaders around us may not be the best example of the leaders. Particularly being in the field of mental health and psychology, I haven't faced that a lot because there's a lot of empathy, a lot of listening and things like that, which is ingrained in the learning. However, yes, definitely there are certain examples like that. And it is also important as a budding leader that you need to stand your ground and realize that this is not how a leader should be. Additionally, I think over the time you learn to choose your battles. There are times where you stand your ground and you vocally say that this is what I would like and this is what is not going well with me. Later, you either make a choice to move out of the space that you do not feel welcomed in or you do not feel appreciated in. So that is how I personally deal with certain examples like this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Prachi. And I'm having the experience in the mental health field as well, a mental health advocate. I think that speaks volumes to all of our professions that we will be pursuing or are currently working in. It's very important to have a meter stick, a scale of your value. And how you have to navigate sometimes differently when working with a collective, conflict resolution skills, critical thinking, all of the things that are necessary to move forward, allow you to move forward in a healthy way, right?
And communication is very, very important because throughout, we make these verbal transactions every second. I tell you something, you respond, and it is a verbal transaction. It's either going to cost us something or it's going to benefit in a certain way. So being mindful of the way you are conveying even the criticism is very important.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. Ifte, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for giving those insights.
And thank you so much for asking that. It really opens up the spontaneity as well. So thank you very, very much. Again, Youth for Change Canada, we're here because of you. Thank you so much for allowing us to be on this platform and explore, learn, and grow. We're all about connecting, engaging, and mostly inspiring. And we're being inspired today from our youth leadership forum. So thank you. The next question for all of our panelists, and I'll go back to Ali as the first one who was speaking. We know what makes a good leader, yes, but what, in your opinion, what are the core values required to lead then? We've crossed over, but I wondered if you could just, define them. We've talked about conflict resolution, and especially in your field, because you're in the field of educating other people with your work in the Disability Collective as an inclusion advocate.
Yeah, I think patience, empathy, and being a great listener, but also being willing to be wrong and always being open to learning from other people. It's an industry that's changing every single day, and everyone comes at advocacy and at accessibility and inclusion with different perspectives, and even things that are as simple as, okay, I identify as being disabled. Other people might identify as a person with a disability. Other people might identify as special needs. Other people might identify as this. It's so varied, and you just have to be able to come into every conversation with an open mind and being ready to listen. And for folks that aren't disabled, acknowledging there's no perfect answer. There's no, as educated as I can try to be, and as much as I can continue to learn and grow, there is no perfect answer to things. And it's just a field where you constantly have to be listening and willing to hear people out on where they're coming from. And then conveying that to the non-disabled community can be a little bit challenging, but I think just willingness to be wrong and the ability to listen and learn from everyone and not letting your ego get in the way is very important.
Good one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Michael, same question.
Yeah, just to add on, I'd say one of the core values, at least that I learned, was that you should always try and be a student at heart, regardless of how old you are, how experienced you are, because you can always learn something new from anybody. Going into a conversation, knowing that you can get something new out of it, even though you might be more experienced than the person that you're trying to work with, or just trying to teach them stuff. But because they ask a bunch of questions, then that might you have to reflect upon yourself if you can answer it as well, and that will reinforce what you know. But then they might ask something that you don't know, and then it's oh, I still have stuff to learn, kind of stuff like that. So going in with that open mindset of being a student is really good, but then also being open and being welcoming to actually have people ask you questions. Because if you feel that if you give off the energy that you're closed off, nobody's going to talk to you, or nobody's going to want to be on your team in the first place. So that's also a very important part about it too. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Alrighty, and Dana.
I'm going to just add on to what Ali was talking about having an open mind. The main place where I'm a leader, I think, is at school, because we have lots of group projects there and everyone has their own ideas. So having an open mind to others' ideas and letting everyone contribute is a great way to be a great team member as well as a great team leader, because it can't always go your way. So knowing that others around you have different ideas and input about anything that you're working on is a great way to represent equality and letting everyone share.
Nice. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Jonathan?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think having an open mind is super important, but also decisiveness. I think a lot of the times as a leader, you're open, you have a lot of different opinions coming your way. And sometimes it just takes the leader to make that one decision and just commit, because it could take a lot of time to, process all the other ideas. And sometimes you just need to make a decision. So decisiveness is for sure. But also humility and humbleness. I think being a leader, you have to understand that you're not better than anyone else on the team, and you have to value everyone's opinions. So those two would be the critical values that I would say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Humility. I love that. It's so carry that with us wherever we go, right? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Prachi, thank you. Adding on to the conversation.
Yeah, to add to what everyone has already mentioned, I think holding a lot of respect for others' ideas, and as John said about holding value for others' opinions, that is very important. And I think being aware about your own privileges, your biases, your prejudices, all of us are, none of us are actually exceptions. All of us go or hold some of these. It's just important to be aware about these. And it's also important how you relationally express this in your relationships, how mindful you are in the way you present yourself, in your behavior, in your words, in your demeanor. So yeah.
No, thank you very much. And talking at rather than with when we're dealing in leadership and collective thought, and the reason we have collective thought, right? So thank you. And as Jonathan said, at some point, someone has to just make a decision and step forward. So everyone is comfortable enough with that. And you as a person and as a leader making that decision to take that forward to the next step and see it to completion, if you will. Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing. I'm just going around if we have any questions at this point that someone would like to step in with. Feel totally comfortable to do so. You're more than welcome. So far, carrying on, we're okay. And as you can hear, we have a great, diverse group of leaders here today. We're all about shining light on youth and shining light on you and spotlighting you. And you're spotlighting yourselves today. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Moving on to some of the other questions that we posed to you. I guess then, what role do you play as a leader in the industry, which somewhat we've crossed over, but we can expand upon specifically. What role do you play as a leader in the industry to contribute to the betterment of your workspace in a positive way? And I'll go to part B of that. What responsibility to community and society do you have as a leader in your field? And feel free to kind of just open it up. So part A, what role do you play as a leader in the industry to contribute to the betterment of your workspace? Allie.
I think for my organization, specifically the Disability Collective, we're the first fully disability-led organization that is doing this type of work, which is very important to us. Talking about being disabled and talking about accessibility and inclusion should be coming from the people that it affects. You should be learning from the people. It's the whole idea of nothing about us without us. And then my team always was just like, nothing without us. Like, disabled people are 15, 20% of the population. There shouldn't be rooms where our voices aren't being heard when we are. So there's just a ton of us, and we're often left out. So that in our field, we are leaders in that way, which is really exciting, but it can be very daunting. We've hosted events where we're just overwhelmed by the response because there is such a need for the work we're doing, but we're just 3 people. And so we're like, we love that there is the need, but we also are small and are more than willing to take on this like role in our field. It's super exciting, but also having people understand like we are also learning and growing as an organization. We're like just 2 years old. So it's a big responsibility. And then as an actor, it's really tough to wear both hats of like an artist and an advocate, going into rooms and wanting to just kind of like do your craft, but then having people also wanting to be educated can be really tough. But that's kind of the role that I've taken on, and being that leader, it can be challenging. I had an audition the other day where it was silly. It was for an A&W commercial, but being asked to use sign language, which is something that I know, but the wording of it was just very kind of inappropriate to the deaf community, and I felt like a responsibility as an advocate to tell casting, like, hey, we don't use these words, and I'm not deaf. Like, I'm not going to be in your commercial and pretend to be deaf. I'm happy to like use the language as a hearing person and as a friend if that's clear in the message, but it just very much felt like pretending to be deaf, and I was like, this should go to a deaf person.
Yeah.
And so it's tough as like an actor to potentially turn down those opportunities, and this was a casting agency that I don't think I've been seen by before, so having to like feel like, okay, this is the first impression they're going to have of me, giving me this opportunity, and me coming back and saying, this isn't super appropriate, and if you want to be educated, here are the things. So that it's a challenge as an artist in that way.
Mm-hmm. But contributing in a positive way, you know, where your name is your virtue, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's everything. It speaks volumes. And I guess, sort of going back to what you said is getting invited into the room, but staying in the room is another thing. It's one thing to be invited in, but feeling validated to know that you belong in the room is another thing, right? Yeah. So no, thank you as an actor as well too, right? In any profession that we have. Thanks. Thank you, Ali. Appreciate that. And let's Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be a bit of a daunting question, especially since I'm so young, still a student in school, to think that I could have such a large effect on, let's say, the engineering industry as a whole. But I think one of the things that I would be responsible for is being able to inspire those that I can affect. So the people that I work with in my design team, the people that are in the younger years in my program, just being a good mentor, a good role model, because maybe I might not be able to affect the industry at large, but maybe somebody that I inspire can. So showing them the way, like being a good guide, just giving them the steps to learn, because all the times, like when I went into this, I knew absolutely nothing, and it was quite a difficult journey to get to a point where I was somewhat satisfied with the knowledge that I have, especially because I'm trying to learn so many new things and there's so much to learn. So then passing on that knowledge so they can actually have a place to start rather than starting with nothing is, I feel like I'm responsible for, because passing on that knowledge and building other people up is something that I always want to do, and it's something that we should always do as leaders. So yeah.
No, thank you, and contributing in a very positive way to your field. Thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate that. Going on to Dana. Same question, Dana, and you can jump into where you wish.
Great. So I try to contribute to the betterment of my workspace by giving positive and bubbly energy. Mm-hmm. Since I consider my workspace more as like back set or on set or during rehearsals, it's mainly all about being nice to all the people that surround you, let's say staff or people you're going to be working with. It's a necessity to always be bubbly and have a positive outcome, because if you're brooding in like a corner somewhere, no one's going to want to bond and come to talk to you about. And if they have questions about what you're doing, about, let's say, your performance, they don't want to come talk to you because your energy isn't very friendly. So you just want to keep on being friendly and saying hi to everyone so they know that they can come and talk to you.
No, I think that's very key. And I think it'd be nice if we could do that in all of our professions, but especially in the performing arts as well. It's almost like a sacred space. When you have to allow for that, to kind of leave that behind before you prepare to go on stage. Yeah, you certainly need that positive energy, and not to be dragged down with any baggage, if you will, prior to or preparing for, right? And it'd be nice if we kind of had that, meter stick, I guess, if you will, and core values for others, teaching other people how to treat us and what we expect. Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Yeah, you actually mentioned something that I wanted to add on to. When you said about like core values and people adding on, I feel like if you give happy energy to everyone, they'll start giving it back. So the space feels more welcoming in general.
Nice.
So it'll be just a more enjoyable experience for everyone there.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. And Jonathan, same question for you, please, and thank you.
Yeah, oh, man, I wish you would ask me this question like 5 years from now, because right now it's kind of hard, right, as a student.
Yeah.
But I think the small things matter. I think one of the things would just be encouragement. In engineering, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. People are always like assuming that they're competing against their classmates, when in reality you're not. You're working together. And so just me personally, I think I've been trying to be more intentional with my conversations with my friends. And I don't know, as guys, it's kind of hard to talk about our emotions. We kind of just keep it to ourselves, But yeah, just being more intentional and talking about our feelings, talking about our emotions. I think it's very important, because oftentimes when you leave it to yourself, it's going to be stuck in there. It's going to brew and it's going to just come out eventually. So it's good to talk about it now and make a community where everybody's transparent and straightforward, talking with each other and making sure everyone's opinions are understood. So yeah, small things like that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Where do we have? Okay, we have Prachi. Yes, there we are. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
I think at ACDR, we work with a lot of marginalized populations, so individuals who use substances, individuals who engage in sex work, individuals who are diagnosed living with HIV or affected with HIV, things like that. So it is very important to create that safe space where they feel welcomed and not judged, and regardless of the choices that are being made. One of the approaches that we use is also harm reduction, where we believe that everyone deserves better healthcare, regardless of the choices, because that choice is always based on some of the past experiences, and it is a way of coping. So it is very important to keep subtle things like these in mind, have respect for everyone. And I think it is also important that we include individuals in our conversations. So as Ali was mentioning earlier, that nothing for us without us. At ACDR2, we are guided by this principle of JIPA MIPA, which stands for greater involvement of people living with HIV or AIDS and meaningful engagement of people living with HIV or AIDS. Whatever decisions are made, even for example, even the materials that we put out on social media are run by individuals who are going to be directly impacted by that. We have a committee, which is the SIP committee, where we have individuals living with HIV review all our materials before they are posted, before they are spread across and during our outreach. So this is because those who have lived experience know it the best. And if we do not engage them in the conversations, I don't know how we are going to better the society and the services which they are going to be using in the end. So yeah, I think these things are very important. And in my role, I also get the opportunity to speak with, for example, Public Health Agency of Canada and other such organizations and decision makers, such that what are the changes that can be brought about, or how can we make healthcare more accessible? There are some medications which are exorbitantly expensive, and the ones who need them, and how can we make these medications available such that they do not have a monetary or financial barrier, and yeah, we also work a lot towards equity, where instead of identifying that everyone needs all the resources, there are certain populations which are already deprived of a lot of resources. So, how can we allocate resources there too, such that their engagement with society is enhanced? So, yeah, these are some of the ways.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Grant, I wondered if you could, if you wanted to take a moment to have the floor at all. Do you feel comfortable to speak about maybe what you're doing in your community and what field of interest that you may have, or how important leadership is to you? No, that's okay. Yeah, no worries. I want to make sure it's available to you. What about yourself, Jack? Is there anything you'd like to speak of there in terms of what we've been talking about? And we kind of spoke briefly before.
I think what you guys like, I'm moving to Toronto this year actually, and especially like going to the art class. Like, I want to see how I could join, how to get into that.
Yeah, so you're moving to Toronto to take Toronto Metropolitan University, or?
No. I'm going there to like do like work somewhere, and I
Nice.
have 4 jobs lined up.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool. So you're interested in the arts then? Yeah, that's really cool. And, it's interesting because I also do work in the arts as well. And, it could be anything from acting on stage to, set design, writing, all kinds of things. And it's interesting where one thing leads to the next, one road leads to the next. Who would like to take this one? Ali, maybe speaking on opportunities, guiding people towards, leading people towards.
Yeah, what art specifically are you interested in? Like visual arts or acting or dance or music?
Actually, acting actually.
Yeah, there's lots of great acting studios in the city. I'm trying to think of, I'm currently working with an organization called the Disability Screen Office that are creating like workshops specifically in the industry, but it's not up and running yet, but I think it'll be really cool. Let me have a think on it. Sorry, there's like lots of sirens happening outside.
No, definitely take a think for sure, Ali. And I wondered even just afterwards if before we finish, if we could give a contact maybe for the Disability Collective, even to raise a conversation of inquiry, between Jack and yourself and perhaps another, so that he's aware of the Disability Collective resource as well too. Does that work, Jack? While Ali has a think about that.
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. And Ali, just whenever you can just let us know. And Sarah, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to speak right now, and in terms of how important leadership is to you, and what makes a good leader, what you're doing in the work that you do.
Yeah, so me personally, I work a lot with other students just because I'm also an art student. So currently I'm working on our school's Frozen the musical. And crazy is still a little crazy to me. I'm one of the leads. Got Anna for the musical. So working as my teachers, usually the leads are supposed to be leaders for the cast and whatever, but I personally, like all of the other guest speakers have said, personally, leadership to me is not just one person, it's a group collaborative thing. So just being a leader doesn't mean, one person's a leader and you're telling everyone else what to do. It's more of a, okay, let's do this together. Let's figure out what we need to do and work together to achieve a goal. Like our main goal is, for example, getting the play ready for the end of the school year. And working together, I find now it's getting us moving very, very quickly. Like we are at our intermission, so we're working together really helps us move forward more. Personally, working by yourself and not, for example, practicing your lines with anybody else or vocals or anything, vocal warm-ups, working by yourself doesn't really do anything for the whole cast. In order to do a collaborative thing, you need to collaborate with other people. And that's just like it is in dance. For example, I'm on my school's dance team or band or, you know, all these like art clubs or whatever. You need to work together. For dance competitions, you need to work together in order to get the goal of perfecting your dance and getting those awards or the medals or first place, second place, whatever have you. Collaborative and leadership and mentorship, it means together. Like mentoring, you can be a mentor, but it's also, you can be a mentee. You can be both of them at the same time, not just a mentor and not just a mentee. A mentee can also be a mentor for other mentees or other mentors. So yeah, I definitely think it's a big everyone type thing.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate that. I'm just looking down. Lucas, did you want to add in anything there? And don't worry about your camera.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, just same thing around what Sarah said. It's just, you know, leadership is all, you can't just have one leader in a group of people. You have to always have a couple people that are, you know, helping out and always like bring up ideas, and then those ideas can lead to other ideas and have other leaders start to, like, other leadership start to come out in people, and like mentors, like Sarah said, people can start to become more out and more outgoing from other people, from just looking at their peers and their friends and stuff.
Thank you. Annabelle, did you want to speak at all today, or?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'm Donabel. I'm Dana's aunt. I'm a journalist from Los Angeles, and I don't know if we still have time, because it's like we do.
We could for another 10, 15 minutes maximum, I think.
Oh, yeah, I was just like interested with what Ali and Pratsy like earlier about the coloration. It's like the mental health issues right now are really big, right? And how do you like the relationship between mental health and leadership? How do you like view that?
Who would like to take
For Ali and Pratsy?
Yeah, I think they're so connected, and you can't be a leader if you're not like mentally able to come into a group of folks and at least try to be at your best, or at least be transparent as to where you are coming from. So it's so important to put that work in and to make sure that you're not bringing baggage into spaces or projecting things onto other folks, and that you are really able to kind of, sorry, the sirens are so loud. Maybe Dana can take over.
Good. Thank you, Ali. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Let's see, Prachi, and then we're going to go over to Kriti if she would like to ask anything at this point, and then we'll kind of wrap up some of our other questions before we head out today. Where are we? Prachi, there we go. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Donovan. I love this question. Whenever we talk about mental health, I'm like, yay, yeah, we're talking about it. I think being a leader, there are a number of things that you need to take care of even when you're working in a team, because at our organization, we always mention that your well-being is of topmost priority for us, especially because we work in an environment which is very intense. We work with individuals who have had to go through a lot, and sometimes that takes that affects us, of course, because we are there for that person with them. And leading also means that you need to identify when you need to take a mental health care break and to rejuvenate and come back and work to your full capacity. If this answers your question.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oops, I think we have lost our other guest. Is it Akriti? I don't see her on the screen, but if you're still here and you wanted to ask any questions, no? No? Okay. Okay, I don't see her right now, but I wonder, just out of curiosity, do we want to have Steve? Steve, is Steve still here? No? Okay, and then Daisy, do you want to jump in with anything? No pressure at all. Oh, there's Steve. There we go. Hi, Steve. Did you want to jump in with anything as a parent who is participating and allowing your... Oh, just having a hard time hearing there. Can't seem to hear. Can anybody else hear Steve at all? Nope. Okay, so I just want to see if Daisy wanted to talk. Nope. Okay, I hope I haven't missed anybody. Akriti, I don't see you anymore, but let me know if you're still here. So I'm just enjoying this so much. I feel like we could talk for days and hours. There's so much to learn. Oh, there you go. Akriti, there you are. Did you want to ask anything at all? Just want to make sure I'm being respectful of everyone's contribution.
I just wanted to know that how do young leaders balance their leadership roles with their personal and academic commitments?
Mhm. Thank you. Who would like to take that one? Ali? And I wonder, yeah, did everyone hear the question?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's something that I'm very bad at. And I think it's really perpetuated in our generation of the hustle culture and just like really kind of working ourselves to the point of burnout. But it connects to that last question too about like being able to come into spaces, being your best mentally, and we just can't burn ourselves out. In that way, it's like very hypocritical of me to say because I'm notorious for it. But I'm lucky to have people in my life that can notice that and say like, Ali, you need to take a break. You need to take the night for yourself, like log off. Even some coordinating work that I'm doing right now for the Fringe and for the Luminato Festival is my boss will see me online and be like, sign off. We're done. So just being transparent about that and yeah, letting folks know where you're at. And if you are kind of needing a break and at your end, like balancing things is so hard. So yeah, learning that about yourself and letting folks know if that's maybe not something you're good at, having people keep you accountable to take breaks. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, having a team, everybody needs a cheering section. Right? Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, I have problem balancing my time all the time. I think my strategy is kind of just do it, like sign up for whatever you want to do. The time will be made. Like if you really want to go out and start your own like robotics club or something like that, it's possible. And I think for me, when I have a lot of things on my plate, I tend to be more productive because it kind of forces me to get my stuff together. But also one thing that I've been learning this term is rest is productive, you know, taking a day off every week, just focusing on yourself, it ends up contributing to a lot of other things. And I think my studying is better, my leadership, able to talk to other people is better when I take time for myself. So yeah, rest is productive, and you know, time will be made if you try, if you just search for it. So
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. And Michael.
Yeah, definitely. Like being in university, academics, it's a lot sometimes. But I think one of the realizations that I made that made like time management and like life a lot easier is that I realized that academics aren't everything. Like you don't have to be the top of the class. You don't have to have like that 95 every single time. And like that has like eased my mind so much. And it's given me the opportunity to be able to do a lot of things without that added stress of trying to be at the top of my class, because it kind of goes into one of the questions, like I think influences, but I had a friend that just graduated who mentored me when I just came to university, and he had to repeat 2 of his terms in mechanical engineering, but he is currently full-time at Apple right now, right after graduation. So he showed me that the academics aren't everything, that you can still do okay, like, and to go have good extracurriculars, get good experience, and that even if you do bad once or twice in school, like it's not the end of the world. So that like gave me the opportunity to be able to put things in my schedule for me, like so I can be relieved, or a stress reliever, like me playing soccer or going out with my friends instead of just looking at my textbook all day. So yeah, it's been great.
Thank you very much. And similar to what Jonathan was also saying, just take a day of rest, and a day of rest could include playing soccer or doing something that you like for yourself. Thank you. We have a little bit more time before we wrap up, about 5 more minutes-ish. And I wondered if we can make sure that we include the other guest, Dana, in that question. And Prachi.
I feel like when you're in the performance industry, I'm just going to add on to what Jonathan said about, because I have to balance lots of things when you're a performer, knowing dances, different choreography, as well as learning different songs and keeping in touch with your instruments. I also do taekwondo, so all of those activities in a week can be very stressful, as well on top of schoolwork. So what you try to do is find some time for yourself to wind down and relax. I feel it's very key into resetting your mind. Just taking a nap or something is so great for you.
Nice. Thank you very much, Dana. Prachi, adding into the conversation for Akriti's question.
To piggyback on what Michael was mentioning, it helps me to be aware of the fact that being a leader, being a mental health advocate, these are a part of my identity. All these titles are a part of my identity, and I'm much more than that. And honoring those parts that want to rest, honoring those parts that want to sometimes be angry, honoring those parts that sometimes want to be frustrated really helps me. This sort of helps me take away the guilt of rest, because resting does not come easy to me too. And that plus, hobbies are pretty underrated. I believe it's important to also take out some time or make some time to engage in things that have sort of a balming effect on your soul. What do you really like to do? It could be playing soccer or cross stitching or anything of that sort. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Make sure that I covered everyone there. Yes, I did. So as we're getting ready to wrap up the Youth Leadership Forum for Youth for Change Canada, I wondered if perhaps you could maybe speak to some of your mentors, your influences, and then perhaps some words of wisdom combined in one answer before we wrap up. And I'm going to start with Ali again. There.
Sure. I have 2 big ones. David Connolly is one of them. He is a director choreographer, one of the biggest in Canada, and he's disabled and is now doing more advocacy and inclusion. He works a ton with youth. He's like the most wonderful human, and one of the first people that I reached out to when I was like, I can't keep hiding who I am in this industry. And it was very intimidating, even because he is just kind of a big deal. But now just consider him such a friend and truly an example of he's learned to kind of overcome what the industry did to him when he was young and the discrimination he faced. And he just is so much better for it. He's a wonderful leader. And then the other one is Joe Strecce, who's a blindness consultant. He was a producer for Apple TV. I got to work with him when I worked on Apple TV. And then now he's just continued to be such a light in my career and will just message me as an actor and be like, here's this opportunity. And I'm like, Joe, you don't have to do that. But he's the kindest and most wonderful. Yeah, and some words of wisdom, I guess, just keep connected with those kind of people, learn from those people. And I don't know, I think be yourself is kind of like obvious advice, or perhaps sounds like very silly and basic. But when I kind of embraced my passions along with like who I actually am, and just allowed myself to be who I am, it's when things really started to change for me in the industry. So yeah.
Thank you, Ellie. I hear that from others as well, when they just allow themselves be your authentic self, and a lot of things happen from there for sure. Thank you, Ellie. I appreciate it. Next, over to Michael.
Yeah, I alluded to one of them in my previous answer, but I'd say just in terms of life, it'd definitely be my parents. My mom really taught me what it was like, or how to be a really hardworking person. She's been inspiring me ever since, for as long as I can remember. Just putting hard work, 100% effort in everything that I do is just so important. And my father just being a very great example of what it's like to be a gentleman, and he taught me how I should be conducting myself as a Black man in industry as well. He really taught me some of the tricks of the trade of what he's experienced in the past, just to give me that mentorship. So it's one of the best things that I've got from him, and both of them inspire me just to succeed. It's more like now it's like they've given me all the tools that I need to do well. So I feel obligated now to do my best and succeed for them. So I'm going to try my best. So yeah. And then I'd say that the words of wisdom that I actually learned from my parents would be that be very open to change. Even though it's like I'm studying nanotech engineering now, it's like I might not do that in the future, and they've made me realize that that is okay to do it, or if they felt like switching my field, that it's okay to do it. Life isn't linear. You can make a change. You can make a change real fast, and then you can end up doing something that you really enjoy, even though I might not see it right now. But yeah, just not being afraid of that change is important. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. We'll go over to Dana.
Yeah, so aside from my parents, I have many mentors. So one of them is my guitar teacher, Zach Werner. He's a great mentor, and he's always talking about how pursue what you want. And he's always talking about like freedom and just doing whatever you want, as well as he's an old Canadian Idol judge, and he owns, like, he's employed in this company, this big company called Lyric Find. And he balances a lot of things. So I think he's really an inspiration to me when it comes on juggling my things as well. And then another one is my singing teacher. His name is Ken, and he's always sharing his experiences to me and gives me heads up about different situations. And I feel like his advice is also very useful to me. So those are my two.
You and Dana, do you have any words of wisdom at all that you wanted to pass on for any youth out there that may be questioning their decisions, or unsure about moving forward, or just being their authentic selves?
Yeah, I'm a very firm believer in you should do whatever you want, like whatever makes you happy, and not care about what others think, because I know lots of teenagers today are very involved in like peer pressure and such, and like what others will think of them and what will happen to their social status. But personally, I believe that it will not matter in 5 years or anything like that, because if you keep on pursuing on what makes you happy, then you'll stay happy.
Well, that segues nicely into Jonathan, because he referenced 5 years from now as prior in a question. So Jonathan, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it would have to be my brother. His name is Justin. He was the one who got me into robotics in the first place. He's currently doing his master's at University of Waterloo in electrical engineering. Oh, wow. And no, it's just a really smart guy. He's super passionate about what he does, and inspires me every day to do better. Especially growing up, like had a lot of relatives comparing me to him, and like originally it was like bad blood, because I had to be better than my brother. But now I've realized that like in this together. We're helping each other out. So I'm super fortunate to have him in this journey with me. And words of wisdom, I guess for me would just be to try new things. You never know what you're going to get out of a conversation with somebody. You never know what's going to happen if you tried yoga, for example, or did something new. So be open to doing new things. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you never know what could happen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And Prachi, same thing, please and thank you before we wrap.
There are so many mentors, and I'm privileged to have them. Some that come readily to mind are, one of them is Hemant Gupta. He was the first one to give me the opportunity of interning when I was still doing my bachelor's in psychology. He is someone who is a great thinker, in my opinion, has experience of being in corporate for close to 30-ish years and then leaving that to work towards several social causes. And he recently came up with a book, Meditations of a 21st Century Hunter-Gatherer. This book is, I know the name itself is just so enticing, and what this book is based on is that there is just so much information today, and we cannot possibly wrap our head around all of that. And that does not make our lives easier. Just knowing alone does not make our life easier. And he has these nice grids that simplify so much of the content that we consume today. So a huge shout out to them for sure. Another one is Beenal Shah. She gave me my first opportunity as working in the capacity of a clinical psychologist assistant. She does a great amount of work with children with autism spectrum disorder and other behavioral concerns, and runs several institutions in India. And definitely Sal, he is the case manager at ACDR, and he has experience of being a firefighter, then now a social service worker, also trains people in martial arts, and also writes very inspiring passages and books. And I think I would steal the word of wisdom from him that he once mentioned to me, and I really needed to hear that. He said that you just need to take care of the minutes, and the years will take care of themselves, which I really, really like that. It was like a heavy weight was lifted off my chest when I heard that, because I was going through some personal things at that point. And lastly, I invite all of you, our participants here today, and those who would visit us later to our recording. If you are someone who wishes to volunteer, who are interested in doing anything in the capacity of serving, at ACDR, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities, and we have a lot of peer-led programs. We also have a group coming up, which is specifically for African Caribbean Black population. So youth, educators, anyone who would want to contribute in any capacity, you can definitely visit us on our website, and I can leave my contact details if you want to reach me.
Amazing. And we can put that also in our description as well. So if anybody wanted to reference it later. You have been a part of the Youth Leadership Forum for Youth for Change Canada, and we have been enlightened. We've been shining light and focusing on our youth leaders of today and tomorrow. And we're just so grateful. I've learned so much today, and I want to thank you all for being here today, being a part of the discussion and raising awareness in our community as leaders, and raising awareness in the fields that you're working in as well, too. I wondered if anybody wanted to say anything before we leave, and then I will do a final wrap. Jack?
My phone number is in the.
Jack, do you want to? Oh, good. Yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to make sure we don't record that. Thanks. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So my phone number is in the chat.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Thank you. I just want to make sure that Ali does get it, and we'll take a moment to even just talk afterwards once we stop our recording today. And if anybody wanted to hook up with each other, and any social media that people can reach out to you on, anybody want to highlight that before we go real quick? Prachi, yeah, Prachi has mentioned. Go ahead, Dana.
Okay. My Instagram is dana.beto.
Thank you, Dana. And if you're looking for spelling of things, it's also in our poster that will be attached to our program that we post as well too. All righty, folks. My name is Lynn McEntee. I've been your humble moderator for Youth for Change Canada, and I thank you for allowing us to be here. I have been blown away with the talents that we have here today. Thank you so much to everyone, and I hope you have a good remainder of your day. Look forward to connecting again, and thank you. Take care.